And we are live, Rangers fans. Thank you all so much for chiming in for a very special episode of Rangers Review. This is Rangers Review number 35. And yes, this is the night before the start of the NHL season for the Rangers, at least. Yes, we know the NHL actually starts tonight, but the Rangers have their first game tomorrow in DC. So we're just going to be really sharing our excitement getting into the season in this episode, looking at their matchups for tonight, the following night, just for the next couple days, upwards of a week before we get into our next episode, because it won't be for upwards of a week's time from now. But before we get there, there's been some, unfortunately dampering news, and I'm really trying to be subtle by saying this. And I got a lot of people in the live stream already sharing their comments. If you're watching this live and not through the podcast format, just listening. But I would like to give a quick shout out to a good friend, Yona, who's a great supporter on the channel through with the YouTube version. And he says the following: "Hey, dude, just want to congratulate you on your channel growth over the last year. Can't wait to follow on for the upcoming season." Thank you so much for that, Yona. That means a lot. $5 donation. Really, really appreciate that. So thank you so much for the support, buddy. But yes, let's just get right into the news that really took the Rangers social media by storm today. And I haven't made any comment through social media. I've been waiting to do this episode because talk about a blue balls is what it feels like heading into the season starting tomorrow. If you ask me, I'm not happy. I'm really not. But let's get into it. And that is the obvious of Vitale Kratzob, who did not make the Rangers roster for opening night. He was cut and sent to Hartford for the last final cuts for the Rangers roster. And as you would assume for a guy like him, who had the belief going into the year that he would be making the roster after playing a handful of games for the Rangers last season, he did not. And I was originally thinking, okay, this is maybe because of just the fact of the kind of players that the Rangers currently have right now. And maybe they just want to have Kratzob out. Maybe they're waiting to do a trade for a guy like a Libor Hayek, maybe even a Julian Gautier, because they have more guys than they know what to do with right now that are just kind of sitting there as healthy scratches. So give him time in Hartford for a couple games and bring him. But Kratzob was obviously not happy because of this. And the Rangers have, according to Elliot Friedman, was the first to break it, have given Kratzob the ability to speak with other teams on a trade. So, okay. All right, Steven. What was your initial reaction to this? What's your kind of, first initial thoughts? Then let's really break this down further on the importance of it and with the likelihood of Kratzob being done as a Ranger this early in his career.
All right. Here we go. Look, I will get to the organization in a minute. But let me start by saying this. Vitale Kratzob is a kid that I've met several times. And he never came across as a humble, friendly, jovial guy. He was always a little bit arrogant, never really liked fan interaction. Now, in itself, that's not an issue. But it does hurt your popularity. If you are an ass off the ice, you really have to perform on the ice. Mm-hmm. Do I agree with the demotion? No, but I'll get to that in a minute. But by acting the way he did, he made himself public enemy number one in this whole scenario. And he's the bad guy now, and he's the one that will get the blame, and to a degree, rightfully so. Refusing to report to Hartford when you are demoted is unacceptable. It was unacceptable when Ryan Grubb did it 2 years ago. It's unacceptable now. If you pull this shit, if I pull this shit, I get fired on the spot. If I refuse to come into work without a proper reason, I probably get a warning first, then suspended, and fired.
I've never understood. I understand. No. Let me put it this way: I'm not in a player's shoes, and I understand that frustrations are high and things of that nature, but to have the audacity at this point in his career too, to just say, all right, I'm not doing it, gain right, or he's going to be suspended for this. Oh my God. I feel like this is just deja vu over and over again with this team.
This. I followed this kid around for 3 years. I ran into his dad and sister in Vancouver. I've spoken to some of his other family members, and I followed his career with interest as a Rangers fan, but I see no reason, nor do I feel the need to defend Kravtsov's behavior. He made himself impossible. And like I said, as one of his biggest fans for years, I'm done. It's over. I'm not defending this. Now, the issue I have with this is that the organization still hasn't learned from their previous mistakes. There's blame to be put on the player, but the organization isn't innocent either. And for some fans, this might be difficult to accept, but let me break it down. In 2019, we had the Elias Anderson situation, who was sent down. He didn't complain. He played his games, but then he got injured, and he wasn't allowed to recover from his injury the way he requested. Now, I won't go into too many details, but he wanted to rehab in New York, where he shared an apartment with Mika Zibanejad. The Rangers said no, and he was stuck in Hartford. He couldn't attend practice because he was injured, and he was all alone in an apartment by himself in a city like Hartford, where he didn't know anyone else. So it caused issues, and unfortunately, the Rangers didn't act on it. They could have prevented it from happening, but he bolted to Sweden. I didn't agree with that then. I still don't agree with it now, but at least in that situation, I can understand the player and why he made this decision. It's a completely different story. But since then, we've had issues with Kaapo Kakko calling out the organization for players being benched for things that other players get away with. Julian Gautier in post-game press conferences calling out David Quinn for not giving him a fair shot. We've had the D'Angelo incident. We've had the Panarin incident. There's so much that's happening in this organization.
You didn't even mention Elias Anderson, which was like the root of this all.
No. But I that's basically what together with Ryan Grubb not reporting, it started it in 2019.
Yeah.
And that in itself, I mean, I understand the player. I still don't agree with how the player handled it, but there are circumstances there that make it a little bit less of an issue for the player.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Kravtsov, he's just an entitled brat, and he should know better. What did I want to say? Yeah, and I wrote some of this down because I didn't want to skip anything. So
good.
It's
easy to forget things when you're in the heat of the moment.
Yeah. We had Ryan Spooner's comments in a podcast, and are all these things the Rangers' fault? No. But all these things, in my opinion, could and should have been handled better by the Rangers. Now, back to Kravtsov, right? You trade Pavel Buchnevich and publicly say you want to give Kako and Kravtsov more minutes. Then you tell Kravtsov to report to the team, not to report to prospect development camp, giving him the indication that he's part of the team. You give him every indication that he is going to make the team. Whether that's true or not, that's the message you're sending this kid who's from Russia. English is not his first language. You have to understand the message you send to someone. Then you put yourself in a situation, and this is the dumbest thing the Rangers have done in the last 2 weeks. I want to say in the last 2 years, but oh my God, it's been a disaster. You put yourself in a situation on Sunday where you don't put a player on waivers, and then on Monday, 5 p.m., you have to cut your roster down to 23. And now your only option is to get from 24 down to 23 after sending down McKegg and Barron. Your only option is you have to demote a player that's waiver exempt. So your options are basically Kako, La Freniere, Kravtsov, and Lundqvist. And unfortunately for Kravtsov, it was him. Now, at the very least, this is terrible asset management by the Rangers. At the best, they just misread this situation and they can salvage it in a trade. I doubt it, but look, in his exit interview last season, he wasn't happy. The Rangers knew this. There were some issues there were some concerns about, his behavior then and how he acted on the ice. But do you, as Chris Drury, want to risk everything, all his value, by sending him down just so you can keep Libor Hayek on the team? Because that's what, in my opinion, this essentially boils down to. And I'm going to repeat here that I don't say Kravtsov is innocent in this. He is a spoiled, entitled brat who should know better, and his behavior should not be defended at all. But if you send down Kravtsov because you want to keep Libor Hayek on the team, who shouldn't even be on the team, he shouldn't even have gotten an extension in the summer, just so you can get some assets for him in a trade down the line, you've put yourself in a situation where now you are ruining another top 10 pick. And at best, you're going to get pennies on the dollars for this guy. You got a late second round pick for Elias. That's probably what you're looking at here for Vitale Kratzob if they get a draft pick. If they get a player like Rasmus Kupari from the LA Kings, you can sort of salvage it, but this whole situation, there's no winners here, and there just aren't people in this situation that are exempt of blame. Drury, Kravtsov agent, and I would say Galland as well. They all have something to do with this situation. It's a mess.
If I may.
And the last thing I want to say is I don't understand this organization's infatuation with Libor Hayek. Libor Hayek, a defenseman who couldn't make it a team in the Czech league a year ago, is treated like some untouchable asset. They are so desperate to hang on to an asset they got in a trade that they botched 3 years ago, that now you're losing a top 10 pick. And yes, again, Kravtsov's behavior is unacceptable. But with what happened in the past, you could have foreseen this. Drury shot himself in the foot, and he'll be lucky to get a second-round pick for this kid now. That's it.
This is quite literally bullshit for so many reasons. And let's backtrack to something that I was very adamant about when the Rangers had their turning of the tide, if you will, when it came to Jeff Gore and JD to now Chris Drury and the adamancy to make this team a playoff club. Our natural concerns, something I voiced plenty here on throughout our episodes, was that I'm perfectly fine with them trying to push forward and, be more adamant with playoffs, but I don't want them to take away the fact that this is still a young development team. This is a team that you should still be focusing on making sure that you're trying to develop your young talent. Vitale Kratzob has been viewed as part of that core group that we're trying to develop. You do not trade fucking Pavel Buchnevich for the purpose of Vitale Kratzob just to be considered traded before the season even begins. And while Vitale's absolutely wrong in this, bless you, I'm annoyed as it is with how he acted. It sucks for all of us Rangers fans. It absolutely is brutal right now. But the Rangers really, absolutely were complete hypocrites in this entire thing from the beginning, because you cannot go into this and really Gerard Gallant comes out and says that he makes it obvious that Julian Gautier and Dryden and Hunt were the ones that outplayed Kratzob. But I'm like, Kratzob was supposed to start the year to begin with. If you want to say that, he didn't earn the right, then okay, I understand that argument to a certain extent. But the Rangers have given indications, as you mentioned, Ray, to Vitale all along that he would basically be a lock to start the year. And for me personally, as someone who is aware that this is a Rangers team that's still developing, that you need to give these young guys playing time, I'm in favor of it, even if he has his struggles early on. You need to start somewhere at some point. He's gotten taste from last season. He looked okay. It's beyond frustrating to see how the Rangers went about this entire ordeal. They literally gave up Buchnevich for, simply put, Sammy Blais. And I know it was more of a cap space thing looking back. I know that's what their argument's going to be than Vitale, but the entire belief is that it's not just the cap space. It's Vitale getting a top 9 lock for sure on that right side and right wing. So now you have Vitale, who's rightfully so upset, but he handled this unbelievably poorly. I don't know what gives him the right, and this is something, unfortunately, that a lot of young players that maybe haven't had as a promising of a young career when it comes to coming in the league right away, as Vitale would have hoped for. I understand frustration, but there's no defending what he's done. So I want to make that clear again. I'm not in favor of what he's done. It really, talk about turning on the fan base quick, but the organization did absolutely nothing to prevent this, in my mind. And that's what's the most frustrating. You're going to really tell me, Gerard, already before the season starts, that we're going to favor these guys over Kratzob when this is supposed to be part of development, okay? Why the hell are we focusing on the Libor Hayeks of the world, the Dryden Hunts, even the Julian Gautiers to a certain extent, when you're not going to have a deep run this year? You will shock us all if you have a deep playoff run this year. Why are we focusing on the now? The idea for the season was to crack playoffs, but the idea to actually, give up a former first round pick for guys that more than likely you're not going to be on the roster in the near future, that are easily replaceable. And don't give me the argument, it's because Vitale, you rather have, Dryden or Gauthier having, bomb feeder minutes potentially in the fourth line. It doesn't change the fact that if you didn't send him down, this would have never happened. He was wrong in what he did, but the Rangers literally set him up. They set him up for failure by saying, hey, exactly as you mentioned, don't start the year this way. We're going to basically have you a lock. And now he's not even looking like he'll ever play a game with the Rangers again. So I'm pissed. rightfully so. Everyone's at fault.
Everything they did this summer, Kravtsov and Kako. Yeah.
And this is and this is something that bothers me more, because this is what I was most concerned with when the Rangers had the changing of the tide. You like that's what we all thought. It's like, okay, please, Rangers, just don't trade away these young prospects just for the sake of trading them away now. You still have so much development to do. We talked about this last episode. You have to wait until you know what you have. I'm going to the game tomorrow, and I'm feeling like a pessimist. This really sucks. Like, man, and look, it's not just the Rangers' fault. I want to make that abundantly clear, okay? It's not just their fault. It's on both sides. So I'm not trying to pinpoint one more than the other, but just the fact that this had to happen. Talk about a blue balls to start your season. My goodness gracious, it is just absolutely ridiculous that this had to happen at this time. It feels like this is a circle. This keeps going around and around and around. Rangers just they don't know how to develop young talent. It feels like more with each passing day. They are so far behind on the process, especially from Europeans. This isn't even it's true with so many guys that they've been bringing over in recent years. There's just been a huge problem, and that isn't just on the player, that is on the team and how they've been going about this process. Just an absolute joke all around on this situation.
And before people say, only European players have this problem. No. Only Ranger prospects have this problem. Other teams do not have these issues with European prospects. The Detroit Red Wings have drafted, I don't know the exact number, but it feels like 70% of their picks the last 5 years have been Europeans.
Yeah, there's been a lot.
It's amazing how much you can do if you trust your scouts. And it's frustrating to see the Rangers botch yet another thing. I thought this was behind us, but like I said, you trade Pavel Buchnevich, and I've said all summer long, if the three young wingers, Kako, Kravtsov, and La Freniere, can pick up Buchnevich's points, then you're fine. Buchnevich was on pace for 75 points last season over an 82-game season. So on average, 25 points each on top of their normal production. Possible. Likely even. Now you take Kravtsov away. Now Kako and La Freniere, what are their expectations going to be? And the thing I didn't want to mention, and I don't even want to say it, but
you're going to.
If Kako or La Freniere doesn't hit his potential, this rebuild is fucked.
Oh, 1,000%.
If one of those two,
yes,
if one of those two, for whatever reason, does not hit his potential, this rebuild is over, and we're not going to win a cup. And with La Freniere and Kako, there are no excuses. There's no, we should have drafted someone else. No, bullshit. Yep. No.
They were there was no denying that they were the proper
drafted pick. The consensus number 2 pick in 2019 and the consensus number 1 pick in 2020. There are no excuses. If one of those two fails to meet expectations, there's no one else to blame but the Rangers, especially after what we've been hearing the last 2 years.
And that's why you've been preaching for so long. And
can I say, again, something Ranger fans don't want to hear, but I know he's loved by the organization and I know he's loved by the fan base. But John Davidson was terrible in his position as president for the Rangers for 2 years. No organization has had as many issues in a decade as the Rangers had in the 2 years Davidson was president.
How much would you exactly pinpoint that in Davidson, though?
I'm not saying he caused everything, but ultimately he is responsible. And my biggest issue isn't necessarily these problems arising. My issue is how they were handled, or should I say how they weren't handled.
Mm-hmm.
Because where does it end? Who's the next prospect? That's what if 6 months from now? What if 6 months from now, Keandre Miller stops producing and he's being sent down to the AHL, and what then? Are we going to go through this again?
Yeah,
Where
something needs to change here.
that's my point. Where does it end? And the first incident you can say, all right, it's probably the player. The second incident you go, oh, it's probably still the player. But when you get to incident number 3, 4, 5, 6, and probably number 7, where we're at now, how can we still say that it's only on the player? It's impossible. It's impossible to blame only the player when it's happening with 6 or 7 different players. And players coming out after they leave, like opening up about their time as a Ranger. We always hear how great the Rangers organization is and how everybody wants to play in New York. But truth is, the last 2 years, we've chased away more talent than we attracted. It's ridiculous. And I don't care that someone like Elias Anderson is not a top 6 forward on the LA Kings. I don't give a shit. The issue is not how good these players are. The issue is how situations surrounding them were handled.
Exactly. The context is what's most important here.
Yes.
Because if you're looking at this from a blind eye, from a vantage point of not really deep diving anything, then you're automatically going to pinpoint everything on Kratzob. And don't get me wrong, we're both not defending him. We're both not happy with him right now. But he's not the only one at fault here, and that's the bigger issue, as you alluded to already.
Exactly. Look,
how many times already? It just why? Like it really. I felt like this was almost inevitable, to be quite frank with you, just because I never was sold on when the Rangers had the changing of the guard here with everyone between Chris Drury. I love Chris Drury, but there's been nothing to indicate this offseason that I absolutely loved it. By any means, there's still so much uncertainty as it is. And for the situation where you essentially have too many guys that you know what to do with, where that ended up being one of the potential biggest driving forces in sending Kratzob down. And again, you have to earn your spot. I understand that he handled it terribly, but my point is that this was, again, just a situation that could have been avoided. And just the thought of that Hyatt contract potentially being somewhat of a game changer here makes me sick to my stomach. I really hope that's not the case, because from the forefront, it kind of looks like it does. And that, man, and I remember when we talked about it, I was like, it's a good problem to have, but clearly I was proven wrong.
I called out this contract when it was signed, and I said it was bad, and people were reacting. How bad could it be? It's a 1-year deal. What could possibly go wrong? Well, here we are. And yes, just to once again reiterate, Kravtsov's response was ridiculous, immature, and he should be criticized for it. But he didn't create this situation. Chris Drury did. And Chris Drury created a situation where his former top 10 pick is now going to return, at best, a second rounder if you're not getting a similar prospect. Like maybe a guy like Barrett Hayton in Arizona who's been struggling there. Talk about your lose-lose trade. Jeez. There's no way the Rangers come out of this on top.
No.
The Rangers are a worse team now than they were 4 months ago. And the Buchnevich for Blade trade made sense when you had the reason they did it. Kako and Kravtsov are going to get more minutes. You cannot have Kravtsov on the fourth line. You need to play him in the top 9. All right, so we trade away Buchnevich. And then because of some technicality where our general manager doesn't know how to manage a team in the NHL, he's sent down, and the worst thing happens. And honestly, until 4 or 5 hours ago, I thought we were going to talk about the 6 alternate captains today.
Who gives a flying fuck, Steven? My goodness, everyone's making memes about these A's. Congratulations. I'm glad there's leadership. I'm sure they're all friendly, but and again,
33% of the team.
I'm just trying to lighten the mood a little bit.
33% of the team this season will have an A on their jersey.
And again, that's another thing that we were basically lied about, going into the year. And I don't know how much, if at all, I should blame that on Gallant.
To quote Gerard Gallant, if I'm a betting man, I would say we have a captain.
He's not a betting man, clearly. No wonder he's not in
Clearly
Vegas
not.
anymore.
Clearly not. But then again, he failed in Vegas. So, yeah.
Two things I want to say before we go further. Again, shout out to everybody that's chiming in and listening to this live, or if you're listening to this on replay or wherever you get your podcast, thank you for chiming in Rangers Review. See a couple donations. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Do you know what NOK is?
Norwegian krones.
That's cool. I have no clue what that.
Either that or
It's-
North Korean, whatever. No, it's Norwegian krones.
Do you know what that equates to?
No.
have
I've
no clue.
never been to Norway.
I have to Google it.
50 bucks maybe? I don't know.
Michael with the $2 donation. I'll be in DC tomorrow. Hope to see you there. Yeah, Michael, just try to reach out to me on Twitter or wherever. We'll try to make it happen. Hope you have a great time at the game. But going back to
$6.
$6? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the Q&A at the end. That's going to be fun.
I know a lot of people are talking. So yeah, guys, make sure you stay all the way till the end of the episode as always, if you're chiming in during the live stream. But to kind of wrap things up on Kratzob here, this just feels like another prospect where it's anything and everything that could have kind of went wrong has started to continue going wrong. And from how the rebuild started, how many prospects that have been coveted would you say have panned out to this point? And again, I know it's hard to say given that these guys still need to develop. You can't say that, oh, Kako, La Freniere, they're bust. Absolutely effing not. By no means. Love them both and they're thriving, but they have a lot more work that they need to do. So what would kind of your evaluation be on how the Rangers have really developed their young talent throughout this rebuild?
Well, I mean, it is early. Let's
to this point.
If we take 2017 as the start of the rebuild, where we traded away Stepan and we got a top 10 pick, Philip Hedl and Morgan Barron are the successful picks from that draft.
Keep talking, by the way.
Those two aren't ready yet to hit their full potential. They are 22. It's too early to tell, but yeah, early signs don't look good. I hope I'm wrong. And I was talking to someone on Twitter today in a DM, and he worded it best. I've never seen a team fuck up high draft picks this bad and hit it out of the park later in the draft every single time. It's unbelievable. Nils Lundqvist is the best selection in the 2018 draft by the Rangers, and he was our third pick at the end of the first round.
Yeah.
As in 2017, Philip Hedl is our second selection, 21st overall, and Morgan Barron in the 6th round. 2018, the other pick in 2018 that stands out is Lauri Pajuniemi, 5th round pick. If you go to 2019 and 2020, the first and the second overall pick, hard to argue with that. But Zach Jones has so far outplayed Matthew Robertson, even though Zach Jones is a 3rd round pick and Robertson a 2nd round pick. It's crazy. 2020, the 5th round pick, Brett Berard, is outplaying basically everyone ahead of him, except for maybe Braden Schneider and Alexis Lafreniere. It's crazy how this team manages to hit on these late picks, but you give them high picks and they fuck it up. It's unbelievable. And remember when last week I said that the Tampa Bay Lightning aren't good at drafting, they're good at developing? The Rangers need to take a page out of the Tampa Bay Lightning development book. Whatever they are doing in Syracuse, that's what they need to be doing.
That's what we should have traded for McDonough. My goodness. No, seriously. Imagine. Listen, looking back, just imagine.
I would have given McDonough to Tampa for free if we could have traded AHL affiliates. If we would have gotten the Syracuse Crunch in exchange for the Hartford Wolfpack.
Well, just easily. In general, having their playbook. Knowledge is power, my friend.
Yeah. No, whoever works there, even the people in the kitchen, I don't care. Just trade AHL affiliates, and I'd be happy. But ultimately, what this comes down to is miscommunication, and it's not like the Rangers couldn't have seen it coming.
I
2 years ago, Kravtsov complained about communicating, and it seems like that's another issue. And again, I'm not defending Kravtsov. I'm just saying the
Neither am I.
Rangers could have prevented this. And now they're going to get a second round pick for a guy that probably, if they traded him in the summer, could have gotten a much better player for.
Which is,
They
do you
shot
think there?
themselves in the foot.
Do you think there's any possibility the Rangers sit on this? And
What do you mean?
Like they potentially ride out the year and redress things in the offseason with him?
And then what? His entry level contract's over. He can go. He can go. He can go back to Russia. Stay there until he's 27. He's
I
a free
forgot
agent.
about his contract. Never mind. Yeah. Damn.
He has a European assignment clause. If he's not traded, he can just go to Russia anyway.
Yep.
Because that's the agreement that he got from the Rangers in his entry level contract, the European assignment clause. You can be upset about it, but he negotiated for it, so it's his right to use it.
The Rangers are. This is, as you said, it's a lose-lose situation. Their hands are completely tied here.
Look, if they trade him for Barrett Hayton, it's a lose-lose situation because I don't see Kravtsov signing an extension in Arizona, and I don't see Hayton being anything more than an AHL center in this organization because he's not better than Morgan Barron and he's not better than Philip Hedl, and I'm not even sure he's better than Justin Richards at this point.
To be honest, I would take center depth potential, however, if that's what we're looking at.
If you trade with a team like LA for a guy like Rasmus Kupari, and I know it sounds like an easy,
why would LA do that though? That's the thing. Why would LA do that? Why would really any team throw any prospect outside of just potentially like second round draft picks? The Rangers hold no cards in this now.
No, I know, but LA is not going to give up a guy like Alex Turcotte,
of course, no.
Or Gabe Velarde. They're not giving up those guys, but someone like Rasmus Kupari or maybe Akil Thomas. I mean, it would still suck because you're losing value, but. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what they can get for him now? And this is the thing that frustrates me the most. As incompetent as the Rangers are, they should have seen this coming, and they should have just traded him in the offseason. There were concerns.
There were numerous ways to go about this differently. In a nutshell,
there were concerns. We've
known about his behavior in the past, and it seemed like things were looking okay going into this year. I mean, for him, from just an outsider's perspective, I don't know what's going on in his mind. So don't take me as knowing anything here because I don't. I'm just a schmuck that's talking right now. But from someone who had a taste in the AHL last year, had some good games as well, going into this year, it just, as I said already, it really looks like a platter that the Rangers just set up for it to just fail. Like, I genuinely don't understand. I want to understand what their thought process was going into this to make Kratzob potentially perceive something one way when in reality ended up being another. Because we can't sit here and say that Vitale completely underperformed a preseason. That's an absolute joke. Was he a game changer? Was he one that, was a definite to be in this lineup based on his performance alone? I wouldn't necessarily say that. No, he wasn't a game changer at all. But to suggest that, he had a horrendous preseason or anything to fully warrant that, there was no shot of him making the team is downright foolish. So he
still outscored Julian Gautier. He still outperformed Julian Gautier if you just look at, what he brought to the team. And let's not forget he was injured in the preseason. But for me, look, if the personality is an issue, you trade him in the summer. If you don't like his attitude, you trade him in the summer. If you don't like his lack of engagement on the ice, which has been mentioned, you trade him in the summer. What you don't do is trade Buchnevich, basically tell this kid, you're going to get more minutes because we're trading away Buchnevich, who plays in your position. And this is also why the situation is different from Morgan Barron and Zach Jones. Morgan Barron and Zach Jones weren't told you can skip prospect count. Morgan Barron and Zach Jones weren't told, hey, we're trading this guy who plays in your position, so you're gonna have a chance to move up in the lineup. Look, the roster compliance deadline pushed Drury to make a decision, and it resulted in a situation that, unfortunately, they could and should have predicted. And I'm not saying that Kravtsov is not to blame. Again, his behavior is unacceptable, but you already know what happened 2 years ago. You could have seen this coming. And if this happens and this goes public, his value is gone, down the drain. And that's where we are now.
I would like to add a thank you from Dave for the $2 donation. Great supporter and friend on the channel. This Kratzob thing is a mess. Yes, we all agree. Steven, I think what I want to talk about now, because look, we're going to beat a dead horse with this. I know we're going to answer a lot of potentially comments as well in the Q&A.
Yep.
I would just like to say to everyone that's been chiming in throughout the live stream, I see a lot of banter that's been going back and forth between people on who feels they're right and wrong. Please hold the self-entitlement aside. Okay, let's be respectful here. I don't want none of that. I don't care who's right or wrong. Please don't be swearing at each other or anything like that. I'm just throwing that out there now in the live stream because I don't have tolerance for it, and I genuinely don't care what your stance is. I'm just throwing that out there right now. So no, I don't care. That's my point. Just be respectful.
The only thing I want to say before we move on, I heard a lot of people today say, attitude issues, this and that. We should have drafted Oliver Wahlstrom. May I remind people of the attitude issues Oliver Wahlstrom had in the years leading up to his draft, where he committed and decommitted to 3 colleges before he was even draft eligible. And then he was in college with Boston College Eagles, Chris Kreider's former team, and there were attitude issues there too. So let's not pretend like Oliver Wahlstrom is some can't-miss prospect that the Rangers were idiots for not drafting him. No, there were serious concerns about Oliver Wahlstrom as well.
I do not give a rat's ass about Oliver Wahlstrom. Can we stop with these comparisons? Yeah. When this guy becomes a complete dominant, top 6 forward consistently for the Islanders, come at, by all means, Islanders fans, talk your smack. That's fine. The Rangers made the worst pick between the two. But again, I was happy when the Rangers selected Kratzob. Going into that draft, I remember clearly, I already did a little bit of scouting on Vitale because he was a sleeper pick a little bit. And as the Rangers starting to rebuild, I've always liked Vitale's game. There's always been interest with that. I've always been excited about him. I've loved his playmaking skills at times, and also his shooting ability, and just how nifty of a skater he can be in that offensive zone. That doesn't change the fact that what he did here was wrong. It doesn't change that what the Rangers did was completely wrong. And the development factor is going to be what's most important by far for the Rangers in the years ahead, and starting with this season. And I pray to God that they make sure that they do not let me put it this way, favor, kind of like how we've had before, veteran guys that are not going to have a long, impactful say in the lineup, guys that, just sign on a 1-year deal versus other guys that rightfully so, let me make that clear, that are warranted to be in this lineup. I feel like it's a broken record, but I have my natural concerns going into the season that we may see more of that.
And I also think the Rangers jumped the gun signing him after 1 year. We hear about the Russian factor all the time, but Sergey Fedorov had an interview last year, I think, where he said that the best place for a Russian player to develop is the KHL. And the most successful stories of that are Tarasenko, 3 years, Kuznetsov, 4 years, Panarin and Kaprizov, even though Panarin was undrafted, but Panarin and Kaprizov came over 5 years after their initial draft. The Rangers signed Kravtsov after 1 year. Why? I have no idea, because the Rangers never have problems signing players from Russia. But this fear of Russians not signing with you is so out of touch. If there's anything we should talk about, it's how college players refuse to sign with the team that drafted them. That's much more frequent. That's a much bigger issue in the NHL. Anyway, the Rangers should have left him in Russia for at least 3 years, maybe 4, and then have him come over when he's ready. When Tarasenko and Kuznetsov came over, they didn't need to adjust to the smaller rink. No. By the way, they use smaller rinks in the KHL now too, by the way. Mm-hmm. When Panarin came over in 2015, he didn't need to adjust to the smaller rink. No, he was good enough to make it work. And that's what you were hoping for with Kravtsov. But no, they wanted him under control, and they messed it up. And now here we are, where we're hopefully going to get a second-round pick that we can use on, I don't know, a goalie or
Olaf Lundblom, like PTSD flashbacks.
or a fourth line winger. Although I'm really happy with how Will Cooley has developed.
Yeah, Will Cooley has exceeded expectations.
Will Cooley has exceeded expectations. I'm really happy about that. But yeah, we could have gotten so much more for Kravtsov had we traded him in the summer. That's a missed opportunity. Anyway,
you know what it is? It's like anything else. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's over and done with.
Anyway,
that's
on
it.
to the season.
Let's get on to the season. Let's get out of this negativity, even though I know it might be a little difficult. But getting to the season preview, just really on what's ahead. As we know, the Rangers face the Washington Capitals tomorrow night. I'll be in attendance, folks. I hope to see a lot of you fellow Ranger fans there. The following night, the Rangers will have their home opener, in which, yes, they will be playing the Dallas Stars. They have 6 alternate captains because we're not allowed to get a captain just yet. I don't understand what the rationale is behind that. I don't know. I really don't understand why they haven't named one full captain yet after kind of, at least Gallant's comments, but they're not sold on one for a reason. Is this something to kind of, honestly build the locker room more too, to have multiple leaders and kind of go about things that way? Okay. But again, that's kind of what the Rangers have had for numerous years now. And they're bound to have a captain at some point. So I'm a little surprised, to put it lightly, that they didn't just name Kreider or even Zibanejad, or some people say Trouba, but I'm not going to be a dead horse there. It is what it is. But I want to ask you, Steven, what is your thought process going into tomorrow night's game at the time of recording this, and the lineup? Because as we know, the Rangers, as you would expect, are going out a pretty heavy lineup when it comes to actually having some physicality in there from what's available. And I don't hate it. But again, I was also expecting Vitale to potentially be on this team. Julian Gautier will be a healthy scratch. Looking at the starting line for the Rangers right now: La Freniere, Zibanejad, Kreider. Second line: Panarin, Strome, Kako. Love that top 6 for the most part. Sammy Blais, Hedel, and Gaudreau. I don't dislike that third line. I don't dislike that third line at all, to be quite honest with you. I just, Vitale, it would have been nice if he was still part of this team. But again, that's on both sides.
But you're playing Kreider out of position for the first time in his career at age 30.
Oh, no. Well, one, that isn't the first time. He's played right wing before, but he's done it very little. And I don't like it either. I'd rather have Laffy there, who's already had more experience. So I don't know. Kreider's known for literally having that north-south game where he's just going straight down the pipe on the left side, and he's going to maybe drag it a little bit and get a shot off, like just after entering the offensive zone. I'm not sure how quick his feet are going to be to cut in constantly to get a shot. Like, what's he going to do? Is he going to turn back, drop a defense, maybe crashing net? I don't know. I don't know how that approach is going to go with him on the right wing. So the only
Sorry. Do you know who we really could have used for 1 year on a 1-year deal with the $7 million cap space we have? Pavel Buchnevich.
Stop it.
They should have just done the same thing with him as they did with Kevin Hayes. Sign him to a 1-year deal, trade him at the deadline.
Looking back, yes. Looking back at it, it makes so much more sense now than ever. Even if they weren't going to commit to him long term. Oh my God. Okay.
Anyway,
look, what's up, Hot Take Hockey in the chat throughout the live stream right now? Good friend. If you guys watch all things hockey content related, not just Rangers, please make sure to check out my good friend John at Hot Take Hockey. He's always doing great stuff. But going back to what I was saying, fourth line now: Dryden Hunt, Kevin Rooney, Ryan Reeves. Revo looks like he's ready to go. We'll see how many fights we actually potentially see. My biggest concern going into this game is the Rangers going out and headhunting. I don't want that. I don't, because you know what happens when the Rangers headhunt? It's a sloppy game, and they lose.
They lose the game, but they will end up with more hits
because they put too much emphasis on what doesn't matter. I want balance.
Seen as a moral victory
and balance.
Yeah,
that's what I want. I'm not against them fighting and doing what is right. I want them to absolutely, ragdoll Tom Wilson if you can, which I know is easier said than done. But I want them to play competent hockey here.
I find it ironic that the only line, even the D pairs, the only line without a physical presence on it is the line that Panarin's on.
Oh, I know.
The top line is Kreider. The third line is Blais and Gaudreau. The fourth line has Hunt and Reeves and Rooney. And then on defense, you have Lindgren, Trouba, and Tenorti on 3 different pairs. It feels like overkill. I hope they're going out there to win the game. instead of winning the war.
They need to. Seriously, like it would be the most idiotic thing for them to just be trying to drop the gloves right away. Then they find themselves losing 4-0. Like they just can't do that.
I don't remember who said this. It's a quote that's been used by several people, but I don't know who remembers saying this the first time. But a win in October is worth as much as a win in March.
Yes.
You can lose the playoffs in October.
It's like any other sport.
Yeah. Yeah. But in like football in the NFL, there's only 17 games. They do 17 games.
Okay. I'm thinking like baseball, for instance.
Or baseball. 162 games?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Gotta love it, baby.
162 games in a 6-month season.
It's the best. It's absolutely the best. Nothing better. Talk about being a sports geek. You guys know I'm most known for baseball, covering the Mets. Man, it's all short-term memory. That's the beauty of it. You know, even in a great win, you're right back at tomorrow. If you have a horrendous loss, like you can try to brush it off the next day. That's why I love it.
I remember asking a friend about 10, 15 years ago, why do they only play 16 games in the NFL? And he goes, well, because it's a physical sport. It's not it's not like basketball where they play 82 games or baseball where it's 162. I go, well, what about hockey? And he goes, yeah, I don't understand those guys either. So it's hockey has the schedule of the NBA with the physicality of the NFL. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
Look, I hope they come out hoping to win that game, and then game 2 against the Dallas Stars. Hopefully they'll play their strongest lineup, and their strongest lineup does not include Jared Tenorti.
Well, is Tenorti going to be playing in the Capitals game?
I think so, yeah. I think Tenorti will be paired with Patrick Nemeth, and then against the Dallas Stars, Nils Lundqvist will take his spot.
Are you fucking shitting me? I'm not even going to see Nils tomorrow night? Is this assumption, or is that the proposal?
Well, it's assumption based on the lines in practice today where Gautier...
Oh, my God. I'm seeing it now.
Gautier was the second-line center in place of Ryan Strome, who might be good to go tomorrow, but didn't practice with the team today. So it's basically the lineup you see, except Strome instead of Gautier.
Of course. I cannot wait to see Tenorti instead of Lundqvist.
Oh, Tenorti, it's a defenseman with number 5 who cannot skate, but everyone loves him. It's like Dan Girardi all over again. Anyway, Nils Lundqvist switched to number 27. So
yes, as he should.
If
it wasn't obvious enough on the wall behind you.
Yeah, I remember asking him 2.5 years ago when I first interviewed him, and he's like, I was given number 27, and it feels like my number now. But the real story behind it is that his uncle, Jan Sundstrom, played with number 7.
Mm-hmm.
And he was given number 27. So technically it was like the second 7.
Okay.
Jan Sundstrom, his uncle, played on the same team in his last season as Nils Lundqvist in his first season. They played together for 1 year with Luleå in Sweden in 2017.
No, that's pretty cool. That's a good story. I like that.
And now he's in the NHL. It's been I always said Nils Lundqvist was our best pick in 2018.
We get it, Steven. All right, you don't have to show further on how much of an uncle you are. Okay.
Yeah, I just wish we still had. We could have had all 3 in the lineup tomorrow. All 3 of our first-round picks in the lineup.
I understand why they're not playing Nils tomorrow. I'm just upset about it because I don't know when I'm going to be able to see him. Because I'm going to games few and far in between this year, I'm sure. So it's a bummer for me.
Just come to New York in November. We'll see again together.
Easier said than done, though. We'll see. Trust me, if I could just go to every game, I would. But again, we have to see. So I don't know.
No, but the season's finally underway tonight with the Seattle Kraken playing the Vegas Golden Knights, the 2 latest expansion teams.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle Kraken actually did name a captain, Mark Giordano. So, but yeah, about the captaincy thing, I actually looked this up this morning because I was bored. The longest a team has gone without a captain is the Boston Bruins. Between 1967 and 1973, they went 6 years without a captain. In that 6-year span, Bobby Orr, in his second NHL season, won the Norris Trophy. Who was the other defenseman who won a Norris Trophy in his second season? I wonder. Oh, yeah, Adam Fox. And in that span, they also won 2 cups. So according to my calculations, we are winning the cup in 2023 and 2025, and we will name a captain in 2026. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I want
Boston connection again.
I know it's endless. I wanted to say this though in regards to the Rangers schedule, because the next time that we will be doing an episode, it will be episode 36. That'll be after right around a week's worth of Rangers games. So as of now, the Rangers have their next 4 games coming up. Let's talk about them briefly, right? That's kind of what the entire point of this episode was supposed to be. But
number 36, the number of Rangers legend Glenn Anderson.
Oh, you son of a bitch! Oh my god, I have Zook's literally life-size poster on my wall. Stop it. Okay, tomorrow, Rangers Capitals. I'm sorry for the profanity, guys. It happens when these things, when things that are negative for the Rangers, that's kind of where we let loose a little bit. But then we have Dallas Stars and Rangers following night, the home opener, going to be awesome. Then we have Rangers and Habs in Canada. That's going to be October 16th, this Saturday. Then we have Monday. It's going to be still in Canada and Toronto, that time against the Maple Leafs. So, yeah, the Rangers have a fun first 4 games from what I'm seeing. No, other than the Capitals, like no actual, divisional opponents, if you will. It's going to be fun to see how they do. I'm curious how they're going to do going to Canada because, again, they haven't been there in a while now, right? Because they didn't get to play in Canada all of last season.
Yeah, the last time they played in Canada was against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yes, yeah, you're right. Wow, it's crazy. So we're gonna see.
But the last time they played in Canada, they didn't even play a Canadian team.
I know, it's so weird. Oh my goodness. Well, thankfully we're getting back to some normalcy here and actually getting a proper schedule. So we'll see how they do in these first 4 games.
The last goal Kako scored with fans in attendance was against the Dallas Stars. The second to last game in 2020.
With fans in attendance, of course. I'm glad you know that.
With full attendance.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. But yeah, so the Rangers got
enough
4
of the
games.
Snacks. Let's go on with the schedule.
Yeah, so again, they got 4 games coming up. Next time that we'll probably be talking is after those 4. What's kind of your quick predictions? Something that we haven't done in a while now. Going into the first 4 games of the season, what are you thinking?
I think they're going to beat Montreal. I mean, the Canadiens without Carey Price, without Shea Weber.
And wishing all the best to Carey Price, by the way. It's very unfortunate.
They do have the most expensive Suzuki in the world now, by the way.
He is a very good Suzuki, though. Let's be
I would never pay $7.8 million for a Suzuki, but
he's good though.
Yeah. So I think they're going to beat them. Toronto Maple Leafs, they still have no defense, so we do. It'll be a good test for Nils Lundkvist going up against Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Austin Matthews, so that'll be fun. I think they're going to lose that in OT. They're going to lose the home opener because, when they have a special event, the Rangers always lose. And they're announcing the Rod Gilbert patch, so they'll probably lose to Dallas. And I think they're going to beat the Washington Capitals. I
hope so. I'm not going to say what games the Rangers specifically win, considering I'm in attendance tomorrow, and I do believe in
with 2-1-1.
I'm going to go 2-2. I say they start their first 4 at 500 and go from there, which is fine.
It's crazy how many road games they play in the first couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah, let's actually count them up real quick.
It's not as many as the Islanders, but it does remind me a little bit of the 2011-2012 season.
I'm thinking of the 2014 season when they started, when MSG was being renovated, and they had that entire West Coast trip.
Yeah, but it feels like MSG is being renovated every 5 years.
Yeah, I know. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Holy shit! I didn't even realize this. 10. My goodness. From now until November 13th, they have 10 away games.
And how many home games?
1, 2, 3, 4.
So 4 home games and 10 away games in the next 6 weeks.
God. I never even noticed that till now.
4 weeks.
Shame on me. But
yeah,
that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? The Rangers have been a good away team though.
It includes the first game in Seattle, I think, on October 31st.
They lose the first game in Seattle?
No. I said it includes their first ever game in Seattle.
Yes. That's going to be a fun one. I'm
October 31st.
Yeah, that's going to be what time is that going to be for you? Because that'll be 9 p.m. Eastern time for me. You staying up?
Actually, that is after we switched to daylight
that's Halloween. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is after we in Ireland switched to daylight savings, but you haven't yet. So I will be 4 hours ahead of you. So that's 1 a.m. It's like normal time.
Okay. Is Halloween
like normal Vienna time for a Rangers game?
I think that's a Sunday.
I think so. Yeah.
I want to say that's a Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's gonna be. I'm excited. I really haven't seen too much breakdowns of their stadium yet, outside of just I've seen clips of them in preseason, but I haven't watched like a full on game yet or anything. So I'm excited to see how everything's portrayed, especially when the Rangers in there.
I've been to Seattle a few times, so I'm looking forward to going there again and actually catching a game. I've been to most of the junior teams in that region.
Yeah, I know.
Seattle Thunderbirds, the Spokane Chiefs, Tri-City Americans that Talon Boyko plays for in Kennewick. It's a state that's pretty hockey crazy, but it doesn't get the attention they deserve because up until now it was only junior hockey. But they have 4 junior teams in the state of Washington, and then the Portland Winterhawks only a few hours away, and then the Vancouver Giants north only a few hours away. There's a lot of hockey in that region.
There's a lot of sports in general, but Seattle, I feel, there's been movement to get basketball team back there as well. Seattle used to have the Supersonics. So, it's great to see them actually have a hockey team. It fits them. That's a state where I look at hockey and it makes sense that hockey's actually being played there. Not so much with Arizona, for instance.
Yeah. And what the Seattle Kraken did, and this is really cool, actually, their 3 home games in preseason, they played it in the arenas of the junior teams in the state. So the Seattle Thunderbirds got a game, the Spokane Chiefs got a game, and I think the Tri-City Americans got a game to sort of welcome the fans throughout the state. It was pretty cool.
That's a proper way of going about things, especially to give them further exposure and market everything.
And it's also a thank you to all the people in the state that are hockey fans, because without those fans, that team wouldn't be there.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Well, I'm excited for the Kraken. I don't have high expectations for them this year, but it's going to be fun watching them just get a new team in there, and it's going to be really exciting getting into this season. I feel like this year I'm going to be involved to a certain extent that I wasn't last year, just because of the shortened season and everything. I'm beyond glad to see things back to normal for the most part when it comes to scheduling.
It's really weird how last season felt like a baseball season.
For baseball season, it was a short season.
No, but I mean, you play every team. We played every team 8 times.
Oh, so you're saying like us having series?
Yeah, it felt like series. And talking to guys in Hartford that played for the Wolfpack, they had it even worse. They only played 2 teams.
Yeah.
So they played 6-7 games in a row against the same team. I'm just happy we're going back to a season where we play every team in the league again. We're playing the Anaheim Ducks, we're playing the Calgary Flames, we're playing the Nashville Predators.
It's nice
because that's the most fun. Oh, and that reminds me, the NHL should switch back to white jerseys at home.
Yeah, have you been advocating for that for a while? I feel like we talked about that before.
Maybe, but I feel for fans, it's a lot more fun to watch all these different colored jerseys in their own arena rather than for a Rangers fan, blue against white.
Yeah, that's fair.
And also, if colors don't clash, just play in colors. If the Rangers play the Red Wings, just play blue against red.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's
It's
something
different.
that I wish sports did more of. As
Yeah,
long as we don't have, like a navy
it's
blue and a
no, but
royal
it's a
blue.
North American thing. It's a North American thing
Mhm.
with colored jerseys for home games and white jerseys for road games, or the other way around. Whereas in Europe, you have your home kit and then your away kit, and it's a different color every year.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so much fun to collect. Well, when I was little, soccer jerseys,
I like
because
that they call it kits.
yeah, they call it kits. I'm switching back and forth between words for the same. Yeah, but yeah, they call it kits or shirts. Um, but yeah, like my team Ajax in Amsterdam, every year they would have a new away jersey, so to speak, and it was a different color pattern, and it was just fun to collect.
Mhm.
But for the Rangers, the jerseys haven't changed since 2017.
I know.
It's,
Again,
it's kind of
we
boring.
can go on a tangent if we want to talk about
And
jerseys.
yeah, I don't want to go on a jersey rant again, but
No, let's open things up now. If you're listening throughout the live stream to a Q&A for the next 10 to 15 minutes or so before we wrap things up. Again, I want to thank everybody that's been chiming in for this episode
yep.
of Rangers Review. To recap, Vitale Kratzob may have very well already played his last game as a New York Ranger, which is beyond unfortunate. We voiced our frustrations at this point, and I know that we're going to talk about it a little bit more, I could assume, from questions that are about to come. Mika Zibanejad's contract, we did not touch on that, but to just briefly touch on it, he does have like a full no move or no trade clause, correct? All the
Yeah,
way
until a week before the trade deadline in his final season.
yes, so until like 2029, that opening
Yeah.
finally shows
Yeah.
itself, which is
The
pretty
last
funny.
week of January 2029 is when they can trade him.
Okay, so write that down, folks. Make sure you remember it.
Yeah.
But
Remember when the worst thing to happen to Kravtsov was that they misspelled his name on his reverse retro
yeah,
jersey? Good times. Anyway,
okay, let's get into some questions now. Let's see here. What do we do now for a right wing on our top six besides Kako? Well, from what I have pulled up here, they
it's a
have
good question.
Kreider. I don't like Kreider in right wing.
Yeah.
We'll see how he does. I hope that he kind of, proves us wrong. Maybe this will be something that he does well under Gallant. Maybe his utilization will be different there. But Kreider has just never looked natural in anything outside of left wing before. So I would assume that you're going to figure out between him and La Freniere. I expect them to kind of bounce back and forth depending on how the trends of the early season's going. Top six, that's really it. It's going to be Kreider or Lafreniere, and then it's going to be Capo. And then bomb six, I know you didn't ask, but I'm still going to say it. You have Barclay Goodrow, of course. You have Ryan Reeves. Julian Gautier can play there as well. So that's really your options. And that's about it. The Rangers just need to make sure that they don't hopefully don't have anything of significance injury-wise this year at that position, or we're kind of, in a hole rather quickly.
Yeah. No, they just have to hope that Julian Gautier just takes off and turns into the player we all want him to be. There is a small chance that Larry Pajuniemi might make the team later this year. I mean, this does open up a spot for him. I mean, he does.
I would be excited.
He does move up on the depth chart with Kravtsov gone. Let's be real. Other than that, I have seen people suggest Will Cooley, but one, I think he's too young and too raw, and two, as far as I know, you cannot recall a player from juniors. Once you send them to juniors at the start of the season, they are there for the season.
Yeah.
So, Julian Gautier or Laurie Pajuniemi. That's what we're hoping for.
I would be very much in favor of Pajuniemi as long as he starts the year well and continues to progress the way that we've seen. Many of you guys know I've been a heavy advocate of his. I love his shot, and I do believe that he's someone that will be impacting the Rangers in their bottom six in the near future. Did I expect this season? No, I did not. So that would be rather interesting, and maybe that door does open because of Vitale's potential departure. I don't know, but we are going to find out as the season progresses. Going on to a couple comments here, we have Yona with the $2 donation. Thank you so much for that, buddy. Who do you think who you think left a good impression this preseason.
Uh, Capo
Capo
Caco.
Caco. Yeah.
Capo Caco. This
Yeah.
is easy. He
Capo.
was easily okay, Panarin had 3 points in the one game he played, but
I think it's more someone who didn't leave a good impression than
when we talk about exceeding expectations, Capo Caco stands out.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
the way I followed his offseason. He was practicing with what's her name, Mia Uhurme, I think, figure skater. He worked on his skating. He was in the gym with Mikko Rantanen or Mikko Rantanen every day for weeks. He was walking up and down the wooden steps in near Turku. I'm pretty sure the Finnish viewers know what I'm talking about. I just don't remember the name. And it looks like it all paid off. He's bigger. He bulked up, but he didn't lose any speed. In fact, he's faster now. The way he skated away from Matt Barzal, who's one of the fastest skaters in the league, that's impressive. That first step really improved. And that first step is 60-70% of winning a race for the puck.
Yeah. Yep. I want to mention here because a lot of people are asking this same question, and I already said it to you, but people are wondering, is there any way that the relationship can be resolved between Kratzob and the Rangers? And my quick answer to that will be, while surely anything is definitely possible, the likelihood at this point in time just feels slim to none, knowing that the Rangers really have a ticking time bomb to potentially acquire any type of assets for him after what you've broken down about his contract. I'm glad you brought that up. So do the Rangers
best case scenario, you're looking at a Jonathan Drouin situation.
Yeah.
That's your best case scenario.
That's a good comp for sure. And we're talking about Jonathan Drouin during his time with Tampa, obviously.
Yeah, Jonathan Drouin with Tampa went up to Quebec. He was staying in his mom's basement or whatever. And then they traded him to the Montreal Canadiens for Mikhail Sergachev.
Yep.
Now, we don't need defensemen. But if we can get a player of the caliber of Mikhail Sergachev from another team, it's not going to happen. But let's just say in an alternate reality, because that's the thing now with Marvel and everything, or what do they call it? Different dimensions? I don't even know. What do they call it? The multiverse.
The multiverse. Yes.
So in somewhere in the multiverse, there's a reality where the Rangers trade Vitale Kravtsov for Anton Lundell. It's not going to happen, but it's fun to think about.
Yes, it is fun to think about. And Antoine Lundell, I love that man. I really do. Okay, let's see. A couple more here. Hey, Worry, who do you think will develop faster, Kako or La Freniere? Ooh, that's a good question.
That's an interesting one.
It's hard to say who will develop faster, considering they didn't come in the same draft together. So naturally, Kako is already more seasoned than him. But who do I think will that's broad. I need to know, are you talking in strictly point production or are you talking about overall play? Because they're both developing. We're seeing it. And you could definitely argue that Kako is the more developed player right now based on his overall well-roundedness of his game, coming in with his body more. But Lafreniere, I have the belief, is going to be the one that's more offensively productive at a faster rate than Kako. That's just something that I've personally felt. So it really does vary on if you're asking for point production or just kind of as a whole. And if they came in through the same draft, I think you'd have a far better argument. But it's actually trickier than what you would initially think, I would say.
Yeah, I think Kako will hit we'll have a steeper improvement this season than Lafreniere. I think his
I can definitely see that.
This season will be bigger than Lafreniere's.
If the preseason is an indication of anything, yes.
Yeah. and Kako is he's not a year older. He's like 8 months older. But if you look at the changes he went through, like physically, and the way he played in preseason, his improvement's going to be phenomenal. Whereas Lafreniere might not develop at the same rate this year, but I think next year, and especially 2 years from now and onward, Lafreniere is going to be the better player.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm excited for the both again. I saw plenty of positives for them throughout the preseason.
It's a bit like it's very much like Huberdeau and Barkov in Florida.
And we always reference them, but I'm like,
I
there's
know,
no reason
but
not to.
it's such a perfect comparison. Huberdeau was a little older, so he hit his peak a little bit earlier, but ultimately Barkov surpassed him because he's just a superior player.
Yeah. Here, comment from Jesse says, do you expect tomorrow's game to be like the last time we met Washington? Ooh. And how do you think, how far away do you think Brett Berard is? That's a question for you, Steven. P.S. Kratzob will be the best player in the NHL.
You mean the video game?
Yeah, in NHL 22.
Because you can change all the stats before you start.
Exactly. You can rig it. Don't necessarily agree with the final statement there, Jesse, and that is in regards to us being unhappy with Kratzob right now.
But I know Jesse. I met him at the draft in 2019 and at the World Juniors, and he's probably the biggest Kravtsov fan in the world.
Okay, we got our homer right now, if you will.
Yeah, I don't want to say a homer, but he's a huge Kravtsov fan. I mean, if I ever get rid of my Vitale Kratzob game stick from his KHL game, I'll probably go to him.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, let's get into how we met Washington last time. That's a good question. And that's something that I've openly said already that I have natural concerns with, because I want the Rangers to be physical tomorrow? Abso-freaking-lutely. I want them to make Tom Wilson have a bad game. I want them to make the Capitals have a bad game. And I think that's what's most important here. I do not want them headhunting. And I really, really hope that they do not go out there with the initiative to, act like, the season just ended yesterday with the Caps again. Like, they need to make sure that they play a competent game of hockey. That's what I'm hoping for. Do I think that's what's going to happen? I genuinely don't know. I do not know how tomorrow is going to play out. Your guess as a fan is as good as mine. But if Gerard Gallant is going to stick with structure, consistency, then we should hopefully get ourselves a good hockey game tomorrow. That does still factor in physicality. I think if I'm a betting man, I am far and away taking the under on the possibility of there being a fight. Like, it truly feels inevitable. How many? I don't know. As long as it doesn't hurt the Rangers, where they have a lack of success in this game, I'm okay with it.
Well, I remember about a decade ago, the Rangers played the Devils, either the Devils or the Flyers, and there was a goon on one of those teams, and three different players fought that one player 3 different instances during the game. And when you have 3 fighting majors in the game, you're ejected.
Yeah.
That would be cool if they just fight Tom Wilson 3 times in the first period.
And we're able to get him thrown out. Yeah.
But if he's smart, and I'm not sure he is, if he's smart, he doesn't drop the gloves and just draws a penalty. The one thing I really want to see tomorrow is I want to see Kevin Rooney mocking Tom Wilson on the bench again. That's what I would pay money for.
Yeah.
Remember when he was mocking him like this?
I know. We talked about it last episode.
Oh,
iconic.
That was one of my favorite moments of last season.
Cemented himself in Rangers history right there.
Yes. That's where he earned his protection spot in the expansion draft.
Exactly. Gain on Dave with a $2 donation. Thank you so much, Dave. He says, why do the Rangers act like the Mets? Scandals. I know. Scandals all around. Between both my favorite teams in sports, the Rangers and the Mets, there's always just shit that should not be happening that's happening, whether it's stuff that's internal or stuff that's actually happening with the players on the roster. It's never ending. But I appreciate the donation, no less, Dave. We'll be taking 2 more questions, folks. Then we're going to get out of here for this episode of Rangers Review. Let's see here. Wilson versus Revo. Yeah, that feels inevitable. I can't wait. I will say it's going to be really cool to see Reeves on the Rangers side and see how he matches up. I'm excited for that. I really am. I have missed a Ranger that was brought in to be that type of enforcer, but can actually fight. if that makes any sense. I feel the Rangers have had plenty of enforcers in recent years that just, 1, they didn't know how to play hockey, they didn't know how to skate, but 2, didn't even go about their role properly. And someone that's always sticks out to me, I know there's like a cult following for this man. That makes one of us. And no, Tanner Glass. I've never been. Nothing personal against Tanner Glass, but I despise Tanner, especially because Alain Vigneault's especially because the Elaine Vigneault's like infatuation with him. It felt awfully similar to Howden and Quinn. I can't.
No,
But I'm
Tanner
looking forward
Glass is
to
a
it.
great guy, and I remember 2 years ago meeting him in like outside MSG actually.
Oh, that's cool.
I recognized him, walked up to him, and asked for a picture, and then I just out of the blue asked him, "Hey, that goal you scored against Carey Price in the playoffs, is that one of your top 10 goals?" And he goes, "Well, I only scored about 10, so yes."
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. I love that.
So yeah, Tanner Glass, great guy, shitty player for the Rangers, but yeah.
Yeah, he's not the only one, let's put it that way. But that's going to wrap up this episode of Rangers Review, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you listened throughout the live stream and chimed in live or on replay.
Oh, I thought we were going to do 2 more questions.
Did we do? I thought we did 2, no? Or did I skip one?
No. Yeah, you were just talking about Reeves.
Oh, my mistake. Oh, perfect. There's actually a couple questions that are coming in anyways. Do I think that they will work out with one another? What about if we do trade him? Okay, so someone's asking about Kratzob again and LA with Turcotte. That's not happening. Again,
No,
it seems like this relationship unfortunately has reached its end or it's getting close to. LA would not, if the Rangers make a trade with LA, the likelihood of it being for a prospect isn't as strong as simply draft picks. But again, we'll see. But if I was a betting man, I would definitely say that it's going to be more so on the side of actually being, say, a second round draft pick or maybe second and third or something.
If you're trading with LA, the players you should probably hope for are guys like Rasmus Kupari, maybe Akil Thomas. They're not going to give you Quinton Byfield, Alex Turcotte, or Gabe Filardi. That's not happening.
Yeah, agreed. 2 more things, then we're going to get out of here. One is from my good friend Darren. He's the biggest supporter, one of my bigger supporters on my Mets channel, and he lives in the UK. He is a diehard Mets fan that lives in the UK.
Really?
Absolutely love it. Yes, he's a beauty. He's like an anomaly. Like you would not think about it, but seriously, absolute
with
diehard.
a name like that, I would say Scotland.
Darren Ferguson? Yeah. He lives in the UK, though, an absolute beauty. Love you, Darren. Appreciate you chiming in, my man. I know it's towards the end of the stream, but just watching a replay if you can. But then getting into our final one here, is it possible to trade Trouba to make room for prospects in the coming years? Not in the near future, no. Because of how, his contract isn't pretty. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's not the contract's fine, but he has a no move clause until July 1st, 2024.
Yeah.
Same with Kreider. So unless you can find a team that's willing to take him on and the player wants to go there, I don't think a trade's going to happen. But Trouba's no move clause expiring in 2024 is actually kind of perfect because it's the exact same summer Braden Schneider and Nils Lundqvist are RFAs.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay. Well, again, we'll worry about that when the time comes. But yeah, Trouba, you're really launching it on believing, is he going to be gone anytime soon? That is not happening. Whether you like that or dislike that, everyone's entitled to their own opinion on that front.
And then one final thing about the captaincy, I guess everyone was wrong.
Literally everyone. My goodness, just I'm over it. Whatever. Let everyone be happy. All right. You have an A. Looking like Oprah Winfrey out here tossing.
Maybe for the next one, we should change the Rangers review at the top and change the A to a Jersey A.
That'd be funny. But that would be joining the cult. I mocked it earlier in the episode. I don't know if I can go. I can't. True. I can't turn back now, Steven. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a change of heart. We'll see.
Just cut it out. Just take it out before you.
Just cut it out. All right. Well, with that being said, folks, this is now going to conclude the episode of Rangers Review. So again, we're excited, a little disappointed, obviously, with Kratzob news, but we're looking forward to the season beginning tomorrow night at the time of being live here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for checking out. And thank you so much for the comments and questions and concerns throughout the live stream. And Steven, any final words before we get out of here?
Happy birthday to Adam Edstrom. He's turning 21 today.
Hey, happy birthday, Adam Edstrom. Future Rangers legend right there. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And of course, let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers.